Okay, so I know this is not very much farming related, but I do a lot of amateur radio stuff, and we have an awesome community here in the Hudson Valley on the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club's repeater, as well as in the club itself. And from time to time, I like to share some of those conversations. Tonight is Thursday, July 27th, 2022, and there is a net tonight run by Dave, my good friend Dave, K2JLV, and the net is basically science, technology, and radio oriented. So what I'm going to do is record this net, and I'm going to go have a campfire here, and I'll leave you guys here in the car listening, and then I'll create a video out of this and put it up on YouTube, and you can check it out. I may also turn this into a podcast, so we'll see. If I do, of course, it'll be on the podcast Comrades and Farms, which is our podcast adjacent to our YouTube channel. All right, that's it for now.
Good evening, this is K2JLV, net control for the OMARC Thursday night net. This net is offered to the amateur radio community each Thursday at 8 p.m. by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club located in beautiful Ulster County, New York. My name is Dave. Join us each week to chime in on the night's topic or just to hang out. Be sure your radio is tuned to 146.805 megahertz with a negative shift of 600 kilohertz and a PL tone of 103.5 hertz. This net will break for any emergency or priority traffic. Very well, with the intro completed, let's go ahead and get this show on the road. We're going to do that by taking our first round of station check-ins. Any stations wishing to participate in this net may check in with their call sign and first name at this time. This is K2JLV, net control, standing by. Net control, KD2, portable. Net control. Here is KB2, GGF, Matt in Kerhonkson. Net control. This is WA2, RKN, Jerry, Hyde Park. Very well, we have KD2IIN, CJ, portable. We have KB2GGF, Matt, down in Kerhonkson. And WA2RKN, Jerry. How are you guys doing tonight? Let's see if there's anybody else. This is K2JLV Net Control, standing by for further check-ins. Evening, KD2VAH. Very well, KD2VAH. Jim, you are recognized as well. Okay, so we'll start off with that and see where it leads us. Not really much on a topic tonight. Let's see what shakes out after the first round. Anybody has any ideas, any thoughts, any questions, anything they want to bring up? We'll roll through there, and then hopefully by then we'll have something. If not, I will pull the roulette wheel of topics and see what comes up. KD2IIN, let's start with CJ and see what he's got going on. Okay, KD2 portable. I don't really have any great ideas for topics. I just kind of wanted to join the net and say hello. Actually
just settling in, a little fire going here at the farm, and just trying to settle my mind from a long week. So I'll pass it back to net control. I'm sure one of these wonderful gentlemen has something they want to talk about. All right, with that, I'll put it back to net. K2I.
All right, CJ, very good. Well, I hope you're enjoying your fire there. KB2GGF, over to Matt from K2JLV Net Control. What's up?
KB2GGF. Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everybody. Well, on my mind is learning, actually. I'm engaged in learning and skill building with several different digital modes at the moment. And because I'm trying to research and learn and trying to get a little experience and learn that way with FT8, Whisper, and DMR all at the same time, I don't know if this is the best way to go about learning. I'm getting a bit frustrated with my progress. So, just wondering if anyone has any thoughts on, should I concentrate on one at a time, or is there a particular method of learning that people find best? Like I say, I'm just sort of becoming frustrated with my progress. My approach has not been very directed or disciplined. I've been watching a few YouTube videos and reading a little bit, and playing around with it on the air and online and so forth. But I'm just wondering how other people who operate digital modes set about learning it and developing their skills. So I think I've repeated myself enough times. I'll send it back to net. KB2GGF.
All right, very good, Matt. Interesting. One of the tenets of amateur radio is self-learning, but I find that I like to ask people personally. When I don't know something, I'll do the best research I can, and then I'll see if I can find somebody with some experience. That's my methodology. But let's see what other people have to say. You've certainly bit off a pretty big bite there, so let's roll it down through and see who else has got stuff going on tonight. WA2RKN is up next. Over to Jerry.
Learning digital modes. Keep yourself busy. Increase your skill set. I don't have anything particularly to offer you, Matt, other than just keep at it. I think you're already onto it, watching the YouTube videos and subsequently asking questions on the net or on the repeater here. We know that Neil is active. He can probably answer a lot of your questions. I think Mike, MNR, is also. I was just getting ready to prepare to wind some toroids. Matt pointed out a particular technique that I find interesting, using a tapered dowel to hold the toroid while you're winding it. Very nice. I've wound one that way, and now I need to create another tapered dowel for different size toroid. So I was working on that, and I heard the net start, and it was like, oh crap! I've really got to get another radio set up in the other room so I can work and do the net at the same time. WA2RKN, back to net.
All right, very good, Jerry. Interesting about the winding toroids. I actually have a project coming up with that as well. The toroids I have wound in the past have been 2.4-inch jobbies, so they're fairly good size, but the ones I have to wind are tiny. And I'm sure Matt knows what the deal is with that, so I'll be interested to hear about that method. Let's go ahead and keep rolling through here, though. Let's finish out the list, and then we'll come back up to the top and see what shakes out after that. K2VAH, over to Jim from K2JLV Net Control.
Evening, everybody. Alright, first I'll tell you what my problem is, and I'll tell you what I've done to start to solve it. And then maybe you all can tell me how to finish solving it. Let me drop. That storm that come through Saturday, it ripped that 80-meter antenna out of the tree, Dave, the one you hung. And of course it broke it right in front of the loading coil, 6 foot 6 inches. It's the weakest point of the entire thing because the wire is curved coming out of the hole of that PVC. Okay, fine. I figured I'd find the wire, do some cobbling and connect it back up. Yeah, forget it. The wire was so far up in the tree because that loading coil just acted as a boomerang. It just threw it all up there. So I went, took down the springs, tried to get the thing out, couldn't get it out. I ended up, long story short, I saved 120 feet of the wire. I got that out tree. I saved 6 foot 6 of the wire attached still to the 49 to 1 unun. So there's probably 7 foot of wire still up in that tree with that loading coil just spun around it. No big deal, I guess. Okay. I said, I'll get more wire. Instead of the 18 gauge, let me drop it. So, I go online, I find a guy in South Carolina, he's got 13 gauge. Sent me 150 feet of it. I got it today. I built my own loading coil. It had 6 turns into it. I actually used a piece of pipe from an old plumbing fitting, roughly the same size as the one that was up there. And I still think that's the weakest point, but that 13 gauge wire is a lot thicker. Not a problem, I guess. The wire's 150 feet. Remind me of that so I can tell you the problem I have. Anyway, so now I've got to get it back up into the tree. So Mike volunteered to come over and do it. I said, okay, I'll just keep my hands away from him, give Mike a shot at this. Mike gets it fantastic. I don't have to bother Dave. While I'm out there in the woods, I find another set of paracord strapped to a tree. Let me stop. So I'm like, what the heck? Who the heck ever hung another antenna out here? What is this from? Don't ask me why, Dave. Don't ask me why, but it's the stupidest thing I've ever done. I pulled it. Down it came with the insulator and everything. Apparently that particular day you hung me 2 of them in case one broke. And like a damn fool, I pulled the second one right down. This would have solved my whole problem. I could have just dropped it, attached it, and hooked it. And I thank you. But it's not your fault you helped somebody that was stupid. Now, I'll tell you my problem. Let me stop. The problem is the wire's 150 foot. Now, yes, I have to measure it out total, so it's 133 9 inches. What I want to know is, can I fold that wire back over itself? Theoretically, that would leave roughly a little less than 17 foot, so to be 16 foot of wire. But let's just say I cut off 15, so I'll have roughly a little less than 2 foot of wire, just so I'm positive of it, and I can measure it and do all my business. Can I fold that back over itself after it goes through the insulator to get my quote 133.9 inches? And Dave, feel free to yell at me about being stupid, that you hung me a second line, and I just pulled it out of a tree like a stupid fool. I'm done.
Alright, well, short answer there, Jim, on the folding back the wire, and that is yes. You can fold it back. What I like to do is something called a lazy spiral. One turn every 8 to 10 inches around the antenna. If you do it too tight of a coil or too tight of a spin around each other, it ends up acting like a coil. I mean, even it's going to act like a coil to some degree, but the effect is much less if it's got a very wide and very long spiral. I don't like folding it back flat as it gets all, it has a tendency to get all jammed up wherever you're dealing with it. So, yes on that. Let me drop here and go back to Jim if he has another question before we go through that.
K2JLV with the group. Do you recall that you actually shot me 2 lines that day and actually hooked up 2 sets of paracord, everything? I did not recall that, Dave. To the point that when I found it attached to a tree, and the tree had actually kind of grown over it a little bit. It's one of those poison oak trees or whatever you call them. I mean, they're not really trees, they're weeds, but they grow super fast. So I did think it was old, even though I thought, wow, this paracord's in some wonderful shape.
Well, Jim, we did only shoot 1 line, and for that antenna. And the reason it seemed like there were 2, which there were 2 lines tied down, the way it works is, at least the way I set that antenna up, the one that you pulled back through had an end insulator on it. And we used that as a quote-unquote slip pulley for the rope, or for the wire of the antenna. So the antenna went up to that insulator, went through it, and then was tied off somewhere on the ground. It had some portion that was pointed down. And the other end of the insulator, which was attached to the rope, went through whatever tree it was, and that's what supported the entire antenna. I hope that makes sense, and if not, I'll draw you a picture and send it to you.
No, that absolutely makes sense. So there's no way, and it also makes sense because when I did pull it and heard it crashing through the trees and said something's about to hit me in the head, I was like, there's no way this thing was as high as the antenna. But I thought maybe you shot me a little emergency something thing. Okay, so I didn't screw up. And I did realize after I did that, I said, fool, it has the same knot, and you tied a very distinct knot. Had the same knot with that little loop that the original one had that was behind the fake garage there. So I knew it was you, but I thought, okay, so I wasn't as stupid as I'm thinking?
Well, I'm going to let you off the hook here. Yeah, no, you weren't as stupid as you were thinking, but had you been able to get the insulator to go down the other side of the tree and not pull it through, there should have been enough rope there where you could have restrung the antenna through the insulator and then re-supported it. Just pull it back up through the original spot where we had it shot through. So, unlucky, but not stupid.
The thing is, I kept going back through the woods, trying to figure out how I'm going to get... Don't get me wrong, I try to look at a silver lining, and it's not really always my style. But lately, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf, okay? There's many things I'm grateful for. I mean, for one, there's a higher tree, so maybe I can get even higher. I don't know if Mike's machine is good enough to get that high. So that. 2 is, this wire is 13 gauge. I've never heard of it, but it's some thick wire. It's called, I got the billing thing, Polystealth 13 gauge, 19 strand, copper clad steel black PE jacket. So I don't know what that means, but I do know the wire is much thicker. The other silver lining, let me drop a sec. The other silver lining is I did save 120 feet of the other wire, which I promptly untangled and wind up. And now that one-to-one balun I have, and you sent me that diagram on how to turn that into a dipole, I'm going to use that wire for that. So I'm like, okay, cool. Now you're going to get a second another antenna, a third antenna, because I really need that attached to this house. But hopefully Mike can get it up to that super high tree. Now the back of my yard looks like a jungle from Africa. So if he doesn't get it up to that high tree, then I'm going to have to bring in the big guns from Milan.
Very good, Jim. Well, I'm sure he'll be able to get it up there as long as Guy's thumb is not anywhere nearby. So if you set it up the same way it was originally set up, then you're only going to shoot one rope into the tree, but you're going to have two ropes that come down to tie off. And the reason because of that is you're going to have the rope that attaches to the insulator, i.e. pulley, and you're going to have the rope from the end of the antenna wire that will tie off at the bottom I think that one is the one that ties off to the spring. So the other thing that copper-clad steel wire is going to be very much stronger and also a bit heavier because of its size, but you shouldn't have much of a problem. It just may be a little bit much for the spring. But anyways, let's come back to this in the next round. I just want to get back to everybody else and their questions as we go along. After we take additional check-ins. So, are you okay for now, Jim?
I am, and like I said, I'm trying to work on good things, try to look at things like silver lining. Like, I don't like Poughkeepsie, but I live in Poughkeepsie. I don't live in Canada. So there's the little things in life that I'm trying to be grateful for.
Alrighty, good enough. We're at the end of the first round here. Any further stations wishing to check in may do so with their call sign and first name.
KT0, Adam.
This is KD2TVS, Lou. Alright, I've got KD2TVS, Lou, and I've got Adam in there, but I didn't catch your entire call sign. I think it was a KC0, that's Kilo Charlie 0. Can you give me the full call sign and maybe phonetically? And I might need to have you walk around a little bit because you were a little bit low on your HT into the repeater. So let's do a test real quick and get you in a spot where you're getting in, and then we'll get your call sign. So go ahead and give me a transmit as far as a test there.
That is Kilo, Charlie, 0, November, Yankee, Zulu, KC0NYZ. It's Adam, and I'm on a little tiny handheld, so if I'm not coming through very clear, just let me know and I'll drop off. I was just heard people talking, heard for a check-in. I was like, hey, I got a moment.
All right, very good, Adam. KC0NYZ, I've got you. You are very good right where you were, so I want to sort of stick around there when it comes around to your turn to transmit. But you're coming through fine when you're in that position. So welcome to the net. I don't think I've had you here before, so welcome in. And do you want to comment on anything that's been happening? I don't know how much you've been listening to, or if you'd like to drop in and pick up a topic, bring up a topic, please go ahead.
Thanks. No, I'm actually out in this area, in the Socrates area, just for vacation. I'm leaving tomorrow from the handheld unit to see if I could pick up any people talking on repeaters locally and to tap into, which is great. And so I'm just going to kind of sit on the side and listen to what everyone's talking about, but figured I'd throw my call sign out there and somewhat join in on the conversation. Thanks.
All right, very good, Adam. Well, please feel free to throw your call sign in. Between any of the comments being made here, I'm going to try to leave a little more space as we go along. I am currently over in Milan, which is a little bit east of Red Hook across the river, and I want you to know that you're coming in on the input over here. So we've got a pretty good straight shot. You might be able to actually hear me on the input if you were to go that route, but Welcome to the net, and I'm sorry we're going to miss you tomorrow. Have taking off. Well, you know, we caught you at some point, but we're always here. All right, we'll catch you in a little bit. KD2TVS over to Lou from K2JLV Net Control.
Hey Dave, KD2TVS here. Good evening to all on the net tonight, and the visitors, as Adam, I guess. And let me see, I just got in the door because I was outside working in the yard doing something, and I wanted to finish that up before I came in. So I heard, let me see, Jim talking about his antenna, and I got a little info off of that from, was it Monday night, I guess him and Matt were talking about his antenna section or something went down, and I guess about putting up a new one or whatever, something like that. So just give me a quick clue what the topics were or were brought up so I can have my choice. Back to you, Dave, KD2TVS.
Alrighty, Lou. I sort of got lost there talking with Jim about his antenna, but Matt was asking about learning the best way or his methodology of learning digital modes. He's working on FT8 Whisper and DMR all at the same time. He's a little frustrated with his progress, but he was asking about you know, whether or not his methodology for learning was the way to go. And I think that his methodology was doing some YouTubes and trying things out a little bit like that. Jerry was talking about wrapping toroids for some project that he's doing, and an interesting method for doing that, using a well, sharpened stick, stick with a cone on it. I'm assuming for holding the wrappings as they go around. And then we were talking with Jim about his antenna and how it came down, and I believe that's where we're at. So back to you, Lou.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Let me see, I guess, Jim, I heard most of the stuff, I think, on Monday. I guess Steve's trying to, or is attempting to start off the net with, at 2 meter, having a half-hour more or less conversation on a topic, then switching over to 6 meters for a continued a net, but I guess his methodology or his reason is just in case we can't hit that repeater, to see if we can still communicate in an emergency situation at 6 meters. Let me just reset. My issue has been with 6 meter, speaking, I guess, a new topic, but still antennas. I have used shark sticks in a dipole configuration, horizontally and vertically. And I tried to get in there on Monday night, I guess, with Steve, and for the life of me, I wasn't picking anything up. I guess most of the guys on the net that night either didn't have 6 meter capability or were having difficulty also, because when I went back to 2 meter afterwards, everybody was back, at least for the most part, was back on the 2 meter, talking about Jim's antenna. But yeah, I'm looking at, I do have 1-to-1 balance. I'm hoping in researching there in the antenna, the ARRL antenna book, on making, I guess, a wire 6 meter, seeing that they're short enough. I guess they're only 50-something inches on each side for a half wave, I guess. And making a wire one and trying that, see how well that functions from where I am. I mean, as you know, my VHF is fine 60 miles away, and I have a 20 meter up that's also functions additional on a couple other frequencies, 17, 15, I guess 10, I think it is, on resonant frequencies that it also picks up. But 6 is not one of them. So I'm going to have to make up I want to actually make up just one. Let me just reset. One antenna dedicated to 6 meters, seeing that even though one of the comments I think made on Monday night is that 6 meter has not been as active, and that may be so because every time I go on I don't tend to hear that. I hear 20 being very active. So I kind of like playing on that for a little bit. I did, but I'd like to probably reorient and change a couple of heights, or the way the 20 is almost basically an inverted V, and maybe stretch those 2 legs out, make it completely horizontal, see how much of a difference I get. But anyways, just wondering if anybody had any other ideas on 6 meter antennas other than wired dipoles that would be simple, maybe, or not too complicated to build. So back to you, Dave, KD2TVS.
All right, very good. Leaving that pause in there for additional comments, but I'll ask for them at this point. Anybody with a comment on the 6 meter question that Lou had? There are a few, well, actually, before we go for the comments, let me ask a few clarifying questions. So, as I remember, Lou, you're up pretty high down there in New Jersey, which you're just above, just over the border, I think, from New York, as far as that is. You're not too far into New Jersey. But as I remember, you're up pretty high, is that correct?
Yeah, my house is up at 1,200 foot elevation. I'm in the northern part, maybe about 5-minute drive from the New York border. Warwick, New York being the town that's across the border from me. So it's quite a bit of mountains, but I mean, like, as you know, I get in pretty clear on this 2 meter, and it's like at least the repeater book says or the app says you're 60 miles away. So yeah, 1,200 foot elevation. So back to you, Dave. KD2TVS.
VAH, quick comment.
All right, hold the comment for just a second, Chip. The other question I have for you there, Lou, is what are you looking to do with the 6 meter antenna? Are you looking to do FM or single sideband? Or both? Or neither? I'm just curious.
I would say both. I was a little confused. I was looking at some 6 meter information, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost seems like a horizontal configuration would be better for single sideband, and vertical configuration and a dipole, I'm saying, is better for FM. Now, like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I just misread, or this is something I think I picked up on YouTube, but also picked up somewhere by reading. Back to you, Dave, KD2TVS.
All right, very good. So yes, you are correct, and that was the information that I wanted to get. So let's go over to KD2VH for his comment, and then we'll see if anybody else has any other comments. Go ahead there, Jim.
MNR is lurking, but he told me to tell Lou, arrow 6 meter vertical. I have no idea what that means. Explain it, Dave. To Lou.
This is K2JLV Net Control. Let's see if there's any other comments. Anybody who'd like to weigh in on the 6 meter question real quick before I throw in my hat, and then we'll roll around through and see what else is going on with the rest of the net. So, yeah, any other comments? Say your call sign.
KD2IN.
Alright, go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, not positive, but Arrow, I believe, is an antenna company, so that's probably an antenna made by an antenna company for 6 meters. I would say you probably want to, probably something similar to a J-pole, something like that, but just for 6 meters single band, and then figure out a way so you can change orientation depending on what mode you want to run, because you definitely want to run horizontal for SSB and vertical for FM. So that's my 2 cents. KD2IN, back to net.
Alright, very good. Further comments? Anybody else?
One other thought, too.
Alright, go ahead, CJ.
If you want something with a little bit of directivity, you might consider a quad-type antenna, like a 3-element quad. That wouldn't be too big on 6 meters, you know, length and width dimensions-wise, and it's pretty easy to switch polarity on that. So that's another option. All right, thanks, Dave. Back to net.
Alright, very good. Or even a quaggy might be a way to go with that, with a quad radiator and elements that are crossed. Yeah, those are all good systems for that. Anybody else with comments?
Yeah, true comment.
Go ahead, Jim.
Mike said, yeah, Arrow's the brand, but it's a 1.5 SWR over the whole band, and it's all aluminum.
Okay, very good. So Arrow, A-R-R-O-W. All right, any other comments before I throw my 2 cents in? All right, no other comments are heard. So Lou, it comes down to a use case, at least in my opinion, and of course take all opinions with grains of salt, etc. If you are going to try to get into a local net like Steve is trying to run up here, you're probably going to want to go with a vertical antenna, whether you're running SSB or ground wave, or FM. Just because you're not trying to bounce it off the atmosphere, unless you do an NVIS antenna, which is a whole other thing. But the way 6 meters is, if it's going to be reliable communication, it's probably going to be a 6 meter FM, reliable local. It's going to be 6 meter FM local, which is generally handshake agreement going to be a vertical polarized antenna. And then you run into the issue with people who have 6 meter antennas that are horizontally polarized, and then of course the attenuation from that. So if you're building an antenna for that, then the Arrow antenna that Mike was mentioning through Jim would probably be a fine setup, or you could get a 6 meter 2 or 3 element Yagi that you can direct in different directions, which would probably be even better, or do a loop antenna or a squalo. There's a lot of different antennas. Let me drop. If you want to play 6 meter long distance, I guess we'll call it DX, but bouncing it off the atmosphere, then definitely a horizontal dipole is what you want to use. And I would suggest that probably the 6 meter hamstick dipole would be sufficient. It's not as super amazing as far as efficiency goes, because it's not a full-length dipole, but I think at 6 meters it's really a short antenna anyways. You're going to be fine as long as they're full-size hamsticks, as opposed to the short hamsticks, which they have a mini version. And my suggestion in the end would be 2 antennas. I would suggest setting up a horizontal and a vertical antenna for 6 meters, because you have both options available to you. They're both fairly small, and you can feed them independently and run it through a coaxial cable switch, and then just switch back and forth from vertical to horizontal. And the feed points can be very close to each other. You can just make it sort of an antenna cluster, so to speak, all in one spot because they're opposed, they're vertical and horizontal antennas, so they're oriented at 90 degrees to each other, so they should not affect each other too much. So, with that said, I hope we didn't confuse you more than you were already confused. Back to you there, Lou.
No, Dave, actually, like I said, that confirmed about the horizontal and the vertical, and as far as which one to use it for, as SSB or FM. I was a little confused about that. I'm glad I threw out that question, and you guys did verify what I had heard. So the Arrow 6 meters, I'm familiar with arrows. I have a Arrow Yagi 2 meter 440. Same one I think Brian had when we were out at the park with Steve playing around with it out there. But yeah, I'll look at, like you said, having two of them, one for vertical and one for one on horizontal, or a Yagi which I can just rotate and decide whether I'm going to go horizontal or vertical, and have some direction capability if I want to go a specific direction. But thanks for all the info from everybody and the inputs. Played it up pretty well. And so I'll hand it back to you, Dave. KD2TVS.
All right, very good, Lou. And the other thing I was going to mention, although it's quite a difference in the wavelength and band between 6 meter and 2 meter, you can't go by being able to get into the 805 here. It's in a really nice spot. So while some of us can hear you, most of us are going to be lower on the lower down into the valley, and probably won't be able to pick you up as easily as the 805 will. So that's just something to watch out for. It's the 805 is a special use case. All right, let's roll back up to the top with KD2IIN. Over to CJ. Second round. Okay, go ahead. KD2IIN. CJ, are you up for the second round?
Sorry, my bad. You caught me sleeping. Not sleeping, but didn't catch my call. I think that's all good advice, Dave, everything you said, and I completely agree on that. And the switch is the way to go. Like you said, 6 meters is a real low real estate antenna. It'd be nice to even take each of those arrays and make them like a 3-element directed antenna, whether it's a Yagi or a quad or a Quaggy or whatever, and put some small cheap like antenna rotors, TV rotors under them for cheap, and then you could have directional and have your option between either directional capability as well as horizontal or vertical. That gives you some really nice ranging capability for 6 meters, especially if I think Lou said he's up at 1,200 feet above sea level. That's a nice position to be sitting in here on the East Coast. KD2 and back to net.
Yeah, very good. Absolutely. I was just looking through to see if there's any other antennas that are out there that are easily acquired for 6 meters. Because now I'm curious. The Cushcraft makes a 3-element beam. It's kind of spendy new, but you might want to keep an eye out for things on the used market. 6 meters is one of those bands where people want to get into it, and then they find out how much difficulty it is to run 6 meters, and there probably is a lot of good, very well cared for or slightly used equipment out there that might be available. something to take a look for and keep an eye out for there, Lou. Let's keep on rolling. KB2GGF. Matt, we sort of lost your question there in the middle. I was going to suggest. Well, let me drop. Rolling back around to Matt here, KB2GGF. I was going to suggest that one of the things I would like to do if I were trying to delve into what you're delving into, I would possibly cut it down to 2 different things as opposed to 3, just because it's too many things for me to wrap my head around. But I would definitely see about possibly doing like a Zoom session with somebody who knows how to do it, just to see if they've got any tips and tricks for me. But let's go back over to Matt and see how things are on your side of the situation there, Matt. Go ahead.
Well, I think possibly doing a Zoom session one-on-one with someone would be helpful. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think you mentioned that before, and I hadn't remembered that. But that's not a bad idea at all. And I think also your observation that perhaps do 1 or 2. You said 2, but even 1 at a time might be a better way. I'm easily distracted by pretty things, and all these things are really interesting, so they sort of grab my attention. But wanted to make a couple of quick antenna comments. First to Lou. An antenna that you might consider is the Moxon, M-O-X-O-N. That is a design of antenna it's a full wave loop, horizontal, and the loop is arranged in a rectangle. And then there's a gap on the short side, like right in the middle of the short side, actually a little off center, but approximately in the middle of each short side there's a gap. So you have a half wave in a square U-shaped at the bottom, and a half wave in a square U-shaped wave, at the top. But look up Moxon, M-O-X-O-N. I know you're really good with a search engine, so I'm sure you'll find tons of stuff. But that's an excellent horizontal beam antenna, and it's compact and easy to build. You could build that with some PVC really easily and quickly. So it might be something to check out. And while I really dig cubicle quad antennas, and 6 meters would be great because that's a size you could handle. You can get fiberglass rods and all sorts of neat stuff to build that pretty easily. So that is the way to go. And yep, you can switch it. You can, depending on where you feed it, bottom or side, you can get vertical or horizontal. And an antenna switch, coax switch, and yeah. But my problem with that is I always would prefer 2 separate antennas over 1 combo antenna, simply because if your 1 combo antenna goes down, you lose 2 opportunities. If you have 2 antennas, one should be operational if the other goes down. So just a thought. Let me drop it. Over to Jim, and okay, way back when you were talking at the beginning of the net, when you were talking about, shortening your wire by folding it back, I understand wanting to save it and keep it long if you want to do some future revision or something like that, but my inclination would be if you're going to have it a specific length to fit a parameter of a particular design, I would cut it. But that's just my way of thinking. I wouldn't want that spare flopping around, even if it was lightly coiled. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's like trouble waiting to happen. But I guess I'm a nervous Nelly. So back to net, KB2, GGF.
All right, very good, Matt. I was just thinking about something. My dubious flirtation a while back with the idea of the tripole. We'll come around with that again once we get back over to Lou. But I was thinking about that for the 6 meter situation. And there's a little bit, yeah, I would, along with your comment to Jim regarding the cutting the antenna, I would agree once you get it tuned into where you want it to be. The only thing that is going to be an issue for me with the way what Jim's got going on is he's changing to a different size wire. So he's going with something different than it was started with, and the 135-foot original size may no longer be completely valid. He may have to tune it up a little bit. So I would say if you're going to cut it long, and then trim it back, fold it back until you get it where you want it, and then trim it and cut it into place. WA2RKN over to Jerry from K2JLV Net Control.
Yeah, the YouTube search parameter that Matt had mentioned was toroid meditation, about the tapered dowel and the toroid windings. And I know exactly what you've got in mind because Matt let slip that you also have a QDX. I ordered one as well. So that's what I've been poking around with. And Jim, the folding the antenna. Yeah, folding it and wrapping it like you described is absolutely fine as long as it's bare wire so that it's electrically the shorter length and not the physical longer length. If it's insulated like I think you said it was, I would not do the wrap like has been described, but I would cut it. And congratulations on upgrading to the copper weld. You'll get much greater strength and life out of that. WA2RKN back to net.
Okay, very good, Jerry. I've got toroid meditation written down here. I'm going to go check that out later on. And I don't know when I'm going to get around to the QDX, but it's pretty high on my list right now after everything else. K2VH, let's keep rolling. Back over to you, Jim.
Yeah, like I say, the only reason I asked about wrapping was because just that, the wire's thicker. And Jerry, I wish that I had decided to do this on my own, but Mother Nature decided. The Sunday night's wind was just, whatever, it was just crazy here. My whole entire back hill I thought was going to end up in my backyard. Though nothing broke, except my wire. And of course it broke at the coil where it was the weakest because the wire comes through that PVC and then it goes to a 90. And apparently that makes it the weakest part. But I'll tell you what, I had a heck of a time getting that extra wire out of there. I had to put my full weight, wrap a stick around to get it out. But I did save that wire, so I'm going to do that dipole that Dave sent me a Dave's CAD 2.4 on the dipole. So when Mikey shoots up this one, I may have him shoot me up another temporary one just so I can screw around with the dipole when I make it for the one-to-one dowel. But anyway, my thought about wrapping it back, let me drop a second. K2VH for ID was only because you're right, the wire's thicker, and boy, she's a lot thicker. Supposedly it's got 370 pounds before it breaks, where the other wire, the 18 gauge, was 220 pounds. But anyway, I didn't know. I said maybe it being thicker that the length will be too long, too short. I'm not sure, and I don't want to, cut off my nose and spite my face. So I'll figure what I'll do when Mikey gets here, we'll measure it out and make a decision. Maybe I'll leave an extra 2 feet, and I'll wrap that back. That way, if I got something to play with, I can't picture I need more than 2 feet. Maybe more. I don't know. I got between now and Saturday. Mikey's coming over Saturday. If I'm on the net on Sunday from Vassar Hospital, it's because I got in the way of Mikey.
Sorry guys, I've been getting a little excited here and forgetting to leave the pauses there so people can comment. So that was one of those. I'm going to try to make sure I do that from now on. Jim, I would say 5 feet. You can always cut it off. You can never cut it on. Or as my brother says, you can cut it and cut it and cut it, and it's always too short. So I would say at least cut it at 140 feet, and then see where that gets you. You fold it back. You'll get a fairly good idea of where you need to cut it next. I would go. Let's see here. You're going to want to test all different frequencies because certain frequencies will be more susceptible to the cutting than others. It should come in at some point where all the frequencies sort of dip in where they're supposed to be, but you want to check over all the bands, if that makes sense, instead of just like the 80-meter band.
Ah, you're assuming I have an antenna analyzer.
That is an assumption I'm making. So you're going to need one of those. If you're gonna tune the antenna for length, you're going to need an antenna analyzer of some sort, and if nothing else, a SWR meter, which you can use as long as you tune your radio up and down the dial. It just takes a lot longer.
K2JLV comment.
Go ahead, CJ.
I'm gonna say, yeah, do it like a real old ham. Get the SWR meter out and check all the bands. Come on, Jim. K2JLV. Just had to bust your ribs a bit.
I have that coming, brother. I bust yours enough. I can do that from the radio, I guess. Yeah, and like I say, Mike, I have an NVA or whatever you call those nano whatever, but I don't know how to read the damn thing right.
Well, it could be time to brush up on it before Mike comes over this Saturday. You could probably get enough knowledge on the Nano VNA to do that, and that particular device will do the job. If you do end up going with the SWR meter, the one in your radio should be mostly sufficient, unless the antenna is so far out of the band that you can't transmit, which is a possibility. Transmit somewhere, on very low power, somewhere at the beginning of the band, the middle of the band, at the end of the band, and then if you want more granularity, you can pick 4 or 5 points just to sort of plot it and see where it is. But of course, if it's the SWR is higher on the upper part of the band and lower on the lower part of the band, that means you are too long, and you need to shorten it up a little bit, etc., etc. Just remember, it's backwards from what you think. Okay, back to you, Jim, for one more back and forth there before we move on.
Well, like I say, Mikey's going to come over and we're going to do it Saturday, and if I can get to where I want to go, that's a heck of a hill to climb. You tried it, Dave. Actually, you did it. But the tree I want is even higher. So, but I'm going to leave it. This time I'm going to leave it so that it's a little bit easier, lower down, and blah, 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 blah. So in case I got to work on it, once I get it where I want, then I will do a little, better tying off of it.
All right, good enough. Well, one other thing, Jim, before we move on to Adam. I will be at work all day tomorrow, and I believe you have a fairly good idea where I work, or we can send that message over text message. The antenna analyzer is on the truck. If you want to borrow it and you can get up here, you're welcome to it. I just need to get it back. It's not a cheap piece of equipment. All right. Offer stands. KC0NYZ. It's been a while since we've been back to you, Adam. I hope you've been enjoying the conversation. Hopefully you're still there. Any comments you want to make or any questions? Go ahead.
Hey, no comments or questions. I actually had to hop off for a brief bit and enjoy a quick little piece of birthday cake with the family, and just hop back on to hear the end of that conversation and then my call sign being called. So that was good timing on my part. Like I said, just hopping on and off and just listening to everyone talk about the various topics, and it's really kind of refreshing to hear all this because where I'm where I live, which is down in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, the repeaters are very quiet, not a lot of talk at all. And here, it's just every time I turn this thing on, I'm picking up conversations, and that's been great.
All right, very good, Adam. Well, we've tried to keep this repeater hopping. We've got a pretty good community going here. And you are welcome to join it whenever you're in the area. As you've noticed, we do have nets all the time. We have 2 daily nets, 8:35 and 6:30 p.m., 8:35 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. And weekly nets, right now we're pretty much just doing the Thursday net at 8 p.m. and the Monday night net at 8 p.m. Just giving you these so you know what we've got. The Sunday night net, which is a science and technology net, has been suspended for the summer. It'll be coming back up in a month or so. But whenever you're in the area, you are welcome to join in, and we'd be happy to have you. I hope you enjoyed that birthday cake. Back to you.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's been great, and I'm also curious about this. What is the science and technology net usually about?
That has a varied topic. It's science and technology of some sort, but not necessarily ham radio. They've done in-depth conversations on everything from time to dirt, grunge and cleaning things. It's a wide range of topics, and it can be. They're always looking for suggestions, and they sort of do a little research and bring some stuff in, and then they talk about it. So it can be very interesting. Actually, it's always very interesting. But right now, the guy who's running it, the guys who are running it, are very busy during the summer, so they're sort of on hold until September. But you're welcome to check it out, and it's also on YouTube. Let me drop out of here for just a second. I'll find it. Just a minute.
Comment?
All right, go ahead with a comment.
I believe Neil's channel is his call sign, W2NDG.
Right, exactly. Whiskey 2 November Delta Golf Science and Technology is the YouTube channel. So, and he does take questions from the audience of over YouTube, whatever situation they've got there for chat. So if you want to check that out, you're welcome to. But like I said, it's on hold until September. And thank you, CJ, for that.
Cheers, a better ID, K2I.
K2JLV net control for ID. I haven't ID'd in a while too, so thanks for reminding me. Back to you, Adam, for further comments before we finish up with Lou here.
No further comments here. I'll just hand it back to the net, and this is KC0NYZ.
All right, very good, Adam. Well, like I said, we try to keep this repeater well populated, so whenever you're available, throw your call sign out. Usually there's somebody there. Let's roll it back to Lou, KD2TVS, see if he's got further questions or comments about other subjects, and then I want to mention my tripole idea. So over to you, Lou.
Thank you, Dave. KD2TVS here. By all means, continue on with that. But comment 2, Jim, I'm going to put up the next antenna like I did with my 20. I actually, the first thing I shot up into the tree was the line, and what I did was secure a small pulley to it, and put through the pulley I put some of that power cord. So when I hoisted the whole pulley up, I still had the power cord, so I secured the pulley off in the tree, and still had the length of power cord going through the pulley. So I secured my antenna and hoisted it up. I did it that way. I remember Matt, I think Jerry and I were talking about pulleys one night, and that was the main reason, was so if anything happens to it, you could bring it down, and you can hoist it back up, anything you gotta do maintenance-wise to it. So just a reminder, maybe you were in on that net or you weren't. And Dave, back to you. Continue on with your project, KD2TVS.
All right, very good, Lou. Yeah, and the way we had it set up, we didn't actually use a pulley for Jim. What I had was a plastic or fiberglass insulator with a wire going through it that would act as a pulley. It would slip and slide back and forth through it. One of those things where it ends up becoming consumable as it will slowly eat its way through the loop, or the wire, one or the other. But I have had poor experiences with pulleys in the past, especially with paracord. They have to be really correctly sized so that it doesn't get caught between the pulley and the housing. It's a little bit tricky to set up. Once it's correct, it works great. It's just I've had bad experiences, so I always do it the other way. But both ways are very valid as long as they're set up properly. Let me drop. K2JLV net control for ID. So I came up with this scheme for something I called a 6-meter tripole, and the idea was that I was creating a hamstick dipole for 6 meter, and the mount I was using for it was a piece of, I think, 1.5 or maybe 2-inch aluminum angle stock, because we usually call it angle iron, but it's aluminum, so it's not iron. So it would, go one side and the other of the regular hamstick dipole. So I came up with this idea. I said, well, maybe I want to run 6-meter FM into repeaters, and horizontal wasn't great for that. So the idea was to add another 3/8 by 24 to UHF or PL259 mount on the other part of the angle, going straight up from where the point of the hamstick dipole was coming out. So 90 degrees out from that, going up, and the other parts were going vertical or horizontal. And then feeding it separately from another piece of coax, and then switching it through a coax switch. That way giving me vertical and horizontal polarization in essentially 2 antennas in the same space as one antenna. Let me drop. And the thinking was I would tune the hamstick dipole that was going horizontally to the SSB portion of the band, and then tune the vertical hamstick that was just a single element but would sort of draw on the hamstick dipole as a ground plane to the FM portion up on the top end, the repeater portion of the band. So that was my thought on the 6-meter tripole. I guess I'd call it a 6-meter hamstick tripole antenna. Back to you, Lou.
Thank you, Dave. I think you'd have to explain that to me one more time so I capture that. So I lost somewhere what you were talking about. So I'm thinking hamsticks and a different configuration, and you said I remember something about the L angle and aluminum. So if it's not too much trouble, maybe you can explain it one more time. Thanks, KD2TVS.
All right, it might be easier to draw it out, but I'll give it one more chance here before we bore everybody. Think of a hamstick dipole like you normally would. One side it has the part the connector that connects up to the coax, and then the other side just goes into whatever piece of metal. So that's the counterpoise or ground element. Let me check and make sure we're good on that.
Okay, I got you on that, because the one I have is like an MFJ, and it has one side is that, what is it, 3/8 by, I forget, what is it, well, you know what I mean, what they screw into, the hamsticks. And one side has the 259 type of connector, so you can hook up your antenna lead, and then the opposite one is mounted on the ground side, same type of screwing connector for the hamstick, and but has no antenna connector on that side. Just on the, it's basically, I guess, grounded through the ground on the antenna connected to the other side. So I understand that way. The dipole, I have the MFJ type, but I know exactly what you're talking about. They use them for twin dipoles, whether they do them vertically or horizontally, but that portion I capture. Back to you, Dave.
Alright, well the MFJ version is going to be a little bit different, but as far as how it's set up, because they isolate it from the mount. Imagine another hamstick that is pointing directly up from that same position. I'll draw it for you and I'll send it over. Just shoot me an email real quick just so I have a current version of your email address. I know I've got it somewhere, but I don't remember where it is. But I'll draw it out for you and I'll send it over, which will make it a lot easier to understand. Yeah, it's going to take too long to discuss over the net, so shoot me another email and I'll try to send it out to you.
Okay, I will, but just in case you don't get it properly, it's the call sign at Yahoo. All right, back to you.
Got it. All right, I will send it over to you as soon as I get it drawn up. All right. I just didn't want to bore everybody with that idea, especially since I have never tested it. So, one of those experiments that I have to do at some point. Let's go ahead and see if there's any further stations that would like to check into the net, as we are at the end of only the second round here, although we've had a very lively conversation, so it's good stuff tonight. Anybody else who'd like to get in, say your call sign, say your first name, and I will get you on the list. This is K2JLV Net Control. Very well, no further stations are recognized at this time. Let's go ahead and roll it back up to the top. We'll run this next round and see where we end up as we're getting into the after 9 o'clock range here. KD2IIN, you're up next from K2JLV Net Control.
Roger, KD2IIN. Yeah, I just want to make one more comment toward Matt, toward learning digital. Yeah, I would say pick one, learn that, get really good at it, master it, then go learn whatever other protocols you want, because from there you'll have a really good understanding of how it all works in a lot of those little intimate pieces. Trying to learn all three at once sounds like a great way to confuse yourself. And how do I know this? Because this is what I do most of the time. And then I fall back and I go, okay, let's do one thing at a time here. So that's my 2 cents on that. I like the idea about the hamstick. They would be curious to see a drawing of that as well. All right, KD2IIN, back to net control.
All right, very good. And the other thing I would mention as a corollary to what you were saying to Matt is that once you master one of the digital modes, you probably will have a lot better ability to pick up the second digital mode, although DMR is going to be completely different, so don't count that one in. But Whisper, you start from FT8 or one of the other ones, and then Whisper and PSK31. Setting up the radio is the hard part. After that, it's not that hard. But with that, let's go to Matt, KB2GGF, over to you from K2JLV Net Control.
Thanks, Dave, and thanks, CJ. Yeah, I think there's some wisdom in that, one thing at a time. And yes, I'm sort of considering DMR to be its own special animal because there's, the internet involved. So it's sort of a hybrid thing. But I'm having some success with FT8 and Whisper to the end that I am copying really well. I must say I'm trying to do this all on my little QRP radio, the TR-USDX, and I'm copying FT8 brilliantly using the WSJTX program and also Whisper on the same program, copying it fine, and I believe I'm transmitting on Whisper. It certainly seems that way to me, but I'm not getting any recognitions of my call, so I don't know if I'm getting out entirely. I did sign up for that website where you can monitor who's hearing you and see a map and like that. I applied for that. They said it may take a day. It's been 2. So I'm trying to be patient and see if I can get that going. But yeah, I'm making some progress. I'm not using cat control yet with this radio. I'm just doing it with a Vox. I built a little board. Someone else's design. Really neat design. Plugs in and very compact, very neat. To a USB sound card in my PC, my desktop, I should say. It's Linux. And, just sort of plugging away at it. But I was talking to CJ about this the other day. YouTube videos I run hot and cold on because a lot of them are really not very useful. And it's kind of hard to wade through all that to get to the few gems in the pile. But CJ suggested, fast forward. And I said, there's some wisdom to that. So yeah, I'm plugging away at it. But yeah, I guess one at a time. What's your hurry, mister? Back to net.
Comment.
Go comment, KD2IIN.
Thank you, K2JLV. Matt, when you go to learn DMR, I actually had Steve, K2GOG, on my YouTube channel, and we did a whole episode on DMR, the basics of it, basically how to program a radio, and all the specifics that go with that. And that one you won't have to fast forward to, at least most of it. So that's a good resource if you do decide to learn. I know your DMR's on your list, but I don't know which one you're going to prioritize. Personally, I think I'd probably go for digital HF first, as I think that's quicker and easier to learn than DMR, because DMR is pretty complicated. All right, that's my 35 cents. KD2, and back to that.
All right, back to you there, Matt, for follow-up.
Thank you, Dave. KB2GGF here. Cool, CJ. I'll have a look at that. That's very useful. Thank you. And yeah, I'm sort of I don't know. I'm really fascinated by Whisper the past couple of days, so I'll probably mess with that first. But FT8 is really pretty neat too. I'm seeing all these calls roll in. I mean, I was seeing calls from China, Indonesia, Japan, all weak signal, and that kind of got me really jazzed. QRP type of guy I am. So, yeah, as we speak, I'm looking at my dedicated 80-meter AM phone QRP rig. Nobody active on it right at the moment, but I've had some good QSOs with that. Want to mess with the audio for that, but that's another story. But cool. Thanks for the info. Back to net. KB2GGF.
All right, very good. Yeah, and I'm sure when Steve was on CJ's channel, I'm sure you don't have to wade through the please like and subscribe crowd. I'm sure it's very information-packed and quickly, so that should work out great for you. Good. Okay, WA2RKN, over to Jerry from K2JLV Net Control.
Just another comment about the toroids here. Dave, maybe even Matt, I don't know. I ran into a problem doing the binocular toroid, and maybe it's because my skill and dexterity is not as great maybe as yours is. I found that I stripped the enamel off the wire, running it through the binocular toroid, even though I was trying to be careful to avoid that. So it was bad enough that I had to redo it, and what I did was to cut a piece of heat shrink tubing a little bit longer than the toroid, slip it over the wire, and centered it in the tunnel of the toroid, and pull the wire through. And then slipped it down the wire for the next pass through the other tunnel, and like that. And seemed to work a treat. You might want to keep that in mind if you have that kind of a problem. Other than that, WA2RKN back to net.
That's an excellent tip there, Jerry. You would think maybe even a little bit of some sort of fast, semi-fast evaporating lubricant might work as well, like something that would be able to be taken off with QD. But I like the idea of the little tube. That works great. I'll have to remember that when I get to that point. Thanks, Jerry. Very cool. We'll keep an eye out. K2VAH, over to Jim from K2JLV Net Control.
K2VAH, Friday. Gentlemen, I'm bugging out. I'm headed off to bed. I gotta run the dogs, blah, 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 and do all the stuff I have to do before bed. I thank you all for the advice and the information. I learned a lot, and you quelled a lot of my stress, so I do appreciate it very much. So I will talk to you all next time I talk to you.
All right, very good, Jim. Thanks very much for being here tonight, and let me know if you're going to travel up here for the antenna analyzer. As I said, it's available. I just need to get it back. I can't keep it. All right, very good. Just shoot me a text. Thanks for being here tonight. Next up, KC0NYZ, over to Adam from K2JLV Net Control on the third round.
Hey everybody. Yeah, I'm actually, it's perfect timing. It rolled back around to me. I'm going to have to sign off to say my 73s. But no, it was great to, again, listen in on all this stuff. And I wish I had more time. You guys were starting to talk about, have been talking about things like digital modes and FT8. And it's something that I don't spend a lot of money on radios, but I've always wanted to build a little SI, one of those little SI 4732 chipset-based transceivers for that. But for the most part, whenever I'm doing FT8s, only using SDRs hooked up to my computer. And even with a little SDR and a tiny little antenna, yeah, you could see QSOs rolling in from all over the world. It's great. You just switch to different bands and just watch them roll in depending on the time of day. Pretty interesting stuff. But again, like I said, got to say 73. It was great hearing from all of you. And yeah, next time I'm around this area, I will definitely check back in. Thanks.
All right, very good, Adam. Very cool for you to be here tonight. We do appreciate you checking in. And as I said, you're always welcome. Anytime you're in the area, please definitely drop in. Additionally, if you're looking to do a kit, the one we were talking about tonight is made by QRP-labs.com. We actually just had the guy who invented or designed the kit and purveys the kit and also sells the kit on our second Tuesday presentation that we do on Zoom, which is up on our YouTube channel. So check that out at, I believe it's under Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club on YouTube, and you can check out that the way that it's built and all that. And it's a neat little radio that's specifically designed for FT8 and its type and those types of modes, specifically the FT8 system of modulation. So JS8 call, and I think it does whisper as well. So definitely check that out if you're looking for a fun kit to build. It's very tiny radio, takes very little power, and I'm looking forward to the build, but it's very tiny. so I'm going to have to get glasses. Anyways, thanks for being here, Adam, and you're welcome anytime. K2TVS, let's finish up Lou, with you, Lou, for the third round here, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I sent you that email, so you'll find it in your email box. Sounds interesting with that tripole, and I was just wondering, whether anybody would know, but just a shot in the dark. I was just wondering if you took a 6-meter dipole wire antenna and oriented it a L configuration, would it be suitable for doing horizontal and vertical? So, yeah, I gotta look that one up. But, yeah, Matt with all the DMR and FT8, and I remember it would feel like some people don't really like FT8, I guess, because they say that, the old timers, they'll say, oh, it's not really, but I guess there's other digital modes, PSK31, I was thinking, I could be wrong, that'll give you a little bit more information, other than, I guess, what FT8 gives you, so I was one of the ones that I wanted to look up to. And as far as the digital mode, I played with DMR. In fact, we spoke about it once, I think, when I was first getting on the net. And I haven't been on it in a while, but I do like it. Just because, there's a lot of DMR station, nets and stuff out there that, and I forget what they call the rooms and all that stuff that you can get into. And I played with Yaesu with their Fusion also with digital. But I tend to like DMR a little better, I think. Even though I have a few Yaesu radios. And let me just reset. And the main reason I wanted to play with the 6-meter, not only just because Steve seems to want to do that as a emergency means of communication, but I understand his thing, because I remember when earlier in the year when you guys had that big storm up there in Kingston, and the repeater went down, and a lot of you guys went over to the alternate repeater, which I can't hit from here. So if I wanted to talk to you guys on a or check on you guys, see if you guys were okay, that alternate repeater wouldn't do me any good. Maybe 6-meter would be better, to get up in that area. And, I guess it is a plus. Let me just reset quick. Yeah, it is a plus to be able to not have to rely on a repeater with emergency communications, because we were having that discussion, I think it was Monday night, about Steve's question was how prepared would you be if under the crap hits the fan and we're losing electrical power for 2 months for some major reason. What would we do? And I'm sure that in as far as radios, most of the guys would have battery backups or something solar. But if any of those repeaters are not working, there's no way of, unless they fire enough generators, that's going to be also relying on the amount of fuel and everything. So that was my main reason for 6-meter. I think my curiosity with it, keeping it local for emergency when that repeaters may be down and may not be able to use VHF or UHF. So continue on, Dave. Great discussions tonight. K2TVS.
All right, very good, Lou. In that use case, I would say the vertical ground plane antenna that Mike suggested through Jim's transmission there, the arrow antenna, or any one of the other vertical antennas, would probably be a very good option for you, as we could probably hear you and talk to you pretty well on 6 meters, where 2 meters is not going to be as easy. That sort of proves out my use case there. The 805 and the 255, which is our other repeater, are not that far from each other, maybe 5 or 6 miles as the crow flies, but they are about 1,400 or 1,500 feet in elevation different. So that's why you couldn't hit it. Understandable. It's more of a local repeater anyways, but it's good to have as a backup for us. I sent you that picture. Let me, once you take a look at it on the next round, just let me know if it makes sense to you. Hopefully it will. Like I said, I haven't tested it yet, but I want to at some point. We're at the end of the round, the end of the list on the third round here. Any further stations wishing to check in may do so with their call sign and first name. Please go ahead. This is K2JLV, Net Control. Very well. No further stations are recognized. All right. Well, it's 9:30, gentlemen. Let's roll it through one more time here. We'll take last comments, last questions, and then we're going to close up the net. Starting out with KD2IIN, CJ from K2JLV Net Control.
Not too much else to comment on, but yeah, I would say we probably should be practicing more observation of having fallover frequencies for simplex, preferably in the same band as the repeater, so we all have the same ability radio-wise to do so. But, you know, other modes and freaks are good as well. Other than that, I'm just going to let it go and say, Dave, thank you for running the net. It was another great net, and I hope everyone has a great evening. And I'll say 7-3 from KD2 and back to net control.
All right, very good, CJ. Yeah, I agree as well. I think that with 2 meter being that little bit higher in the frequency band as far as VHF goes, I would think I would personally rely more on a 6 meter or a 10 meter FM frequency, just for ability to get over and through some of the obstructions that we have in the terrain around here. I think it'd be a little more effective than 2 meter. But certainly it'd be good to have 2 meter as well, and we could do relay stations. I'm up here pretty high. I can usually hear most everybody. And Bob K2LV is way up on the mountain there. He can hear everybody. Ted's up there. So there's definitely options for that, sort of a makeshift repeater setup. All right, CJ, have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your fire. We'll catch you later. KB2GGF. Matt, you're up next.
Over the river and through the woods to grandmother's 6 meter we go. Yes, good use for that. The toroid winding thing. That YouTube video is something along the... If you search toroid meditation, you'll find it. I like the video because it just... there's no talking. It just shows you the guy winding tiny toroids on a conical dowel, on a tapered dowel. And they sit on there like you'd sit a ring on a finger, and you slip the wire in back of them, and gravity sort of holds it in place. It makes for very neat winding. And there's just some music, and the guy winding it, and a picture of it as it progresses. And the music is not as awful as most YouTube music. So you can actually leave the speaker turned on while you watch it. So I'd recommend that. I have not wound toroids that way myself yet, but Chris, AC2KV, just finished up his true STX build, and he wound the coils using that method, and he said it worked out really well for him. So you might want to have a look. That's about it. Thank you, everyone, for your input and advice, and interesting stuff going on, and it was a pleasure hearing and speaking to all of you, and hope to do it again. Have a very good night. 73 KB2 GGF.
All right, very good, Matt. Always a pleasure. and I will definitely take a look at that method. It looks like, sounds like it'll work really well. And when you get around to DMR, let me know. I would definitely be willing to walk you through getting your hotspot set up. Mike's got your radio set up, so pretty much you could pretty much get on the air with just your hotspot at this point, getting figured out, and then we can get into the depths of learning how to do all the code plugs and everything later. More fun just to get on the air. All right, thanks, Matt. Good to be on the air with you tonight, and we'll catch you next time. WA2RKN back over to Jerry from K2JLV Net Control, fourth and final round.
Yeah, Matt, thanks for the pointer about the toroid meditation YouTube video. Much appreciated. I don't care that it came through Chris, kudos to him. Good idea. I like it. Like I said, I'm currently working on another dowel for the other size toroids. And nice to hear and speak with the ham community here again this week. Thanks much, guys. Nothing further. WA2RKN back to that.
All right, very good, Jerry. Always a pleasure. Glad to have you in tonight, and hope things are going well for you down there. And we will talk again soon. Let's see, who's left? K2TVS, over to Lou from K2JLV Net Control. You're on the end of the list here, holding the candle. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I got your drawing. Yeah, it seems pretty easy. I understand it quite well. It's kind of similar to what I got, but not. Yeah, it's nice to the way it works. It would give you vertical and horizontal. And yeah, I'm gonna try that. Maybe I'll just stop by Tractor Supply and look for some L-angle aluminum and try that out. Doesn't seem like it's that complicated, but yeah, it's worth trying out just to see how it does. I forgot to bring something up earlier. There was a different topic altogether. It was on actually automotive electrical troubleshooting. And it wasn't a question, it was actually something that I found out through a buddy of mine that actually owns a shop out in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And he thought of this, and I thought it was pretty sharp. I can take it up next week, but just throw it out on the net so everybody's aware of it, just in case they ever get confronted by that issue. But if you want, I'll just, it's not that long, maybe it'll take a couple of minutes just to say what it is, and so if you want, I'll just let you know what it is. K2TVS.
By all means, Lou, go ahead. K2JLV Net Control.
Yeah, I figured you'd be intrigued by it, seeing that you work on all kinds of different little projects here and there. But I hadn't heard about it. Well, I've seen where they have those tools that and they're quite expensive, I guess, that they use for finding shorts in homes. That they put something down, and I know they can. It'll sense in the wall where the short is. But the simple one that he did was actually, he had a Mercedes that he had in his shop, and it had a. Let me just reset. He had a short in there, and the guy had been to a couple of shops before, and the guy, it was like, they killed the battery overnight or something like that. I forget what it was. So what he actually used was one of those little infrared sensing cameras. And I guess somehow what he did actually was he rigged the door switches, I guess, where they would be closed, and power off on everything, made sure that everything was completely off. And he went around the car with this little infrared camera. And he's basically, what he was looking for was a hot spot or a warm spot. Because I guess, logically you don't really think about it, but I guess, if there's a short somewhere or there's something that's on, it's going to be warmer than everything else. So sure enough, it worked pretty well. I guess it was an attachment that he was using that was on for his cell phone or something like that. It was, but it was so sensitive actually that he actually found a mice nest in the car that was it was they could it was in a hidden area, but he actually could sense that he could see with the camera that there was a warm spot there. But he actually found it was a module, something, one of the modules in the Mercedes that was, I guess, staying hot in as far as shorted out internally. And it was easy to find, as he says, and I said, damn, Wally, that was pretty ingenious. I said, is that something you learned, or is it something you just thought of? Because he's that type of individual. He just, he thinks outside the box, and he actually does some pretty cool troubleshooting. I figured you'd be interested, and everybody else that listen. Otherwise, I'll bring it up again next week. So back to you, Dave. And if this is the 73 round, I will be signing off, and I wish you all the best. And until next week, back to you, Dave. KD2TVS.
This is K2JLV Net Control. Very cool, Lou. And the amazing thing is, especially now with all these little attachments we've got that run off, what do they call that? On the go, OTG, off of the bottom of your cell phone now, plugs in like a USB port. You get, the thermal cameras, and they have the ones that are, I can't think of the name of them right now. The ones that are on like a long pole, it's a camera on a long stick so you can look into things. I'll think of it eventually. So I know everybody's yelling at their radio now with the right word. But anyways, very ingenious, great idea, and very cool if you ever run up against that. Absolutely, something that's on is going to continue to make heat, and hopefully you can get the camera on it so you can see it. Very, very cool. Great idea. Congratulations to him. That's genius. And yeah, definitely thank him for the tip.
I will, Dave. You're probably thinking, well, there's different names for it. I know that they use them for doing endoscopies and I forget what the other one calls, but looking inside you, we call them borescopes at the airlines because as inspectors we use them actually to. The jet engines have borescope plugs or ports in them. Then you just basically unscrew the plug, and you can look in the different stages of the compressor or the turbine. So we call them borescope. Olympus made quite a bit of them. Everest, I think, which I think they're called something else. Another company now that is owned by GE. But yeah, it's a nice tool. I mean, I know who was it? I picked up one from. Tractor Supply, I think. No, it wasn't Tractor Supply. It was Harbor Freight. I just needed to look down the barrel of a rifle, just looking at seeing if there was any corrosion or the condition or pitting or anything of a rifle barrel. And it was actually worked pretty good, and they weren't that expensive. But yeah, there's a lot of little attachments you can use on these phones, and I thought that was pretty interesting. And I figured you get a kick out of it because you never know. One day it comes up and you say, hey, I remember hearing about this. But thanks, Dave. KD2TVS.
Alright, very good, Lou. Yep, and you picked it out right there. Borescope. That's what I thought of it just before you said it, and but I knew you would have it there. So good stuff. Yeah, all those OTG adapters are really cool. Or adapted devices, or the way you can plug things into your phone. I have used my cell phone personally a couple of times with a USB thumb drive, just to drop things into it and take things off of it. It works great. Just amazing how technology has progressed. All right, very good, Lou. Thanks for being here tonight, 73. And let's just see if there's any last-minute check-ins. This is K2JLV Net Control for the OMARC Thursday Night Net. Anybody who'd like to check in here at the end before we close the net may do so with their call sign and first name. Very well, no last last-minute check-ins are recognized at this time, so the OMARC Thursday Night Net will return the frequency to regular amateur use. This has been a session of the OMARC Thursday Night Net, which is sponsored by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club located in beautiful Ulster County, New York. There is no membership required to participate in any of our nets or use any of the club's repeaters, but if you like what we do and would like to find out more about what we do, please visit our website at www.omarcclub.org. That's OMARCCLUB.org. We'd be very happy to include you in our activities, our things that we do online. We're just happy to have more and more people around and are happy to include anybody. So check us out there, omarcclub.org. Thank you to all who participated this evening. This is K2JLV saying 73 and inviting you to join us again next week. This net is now closed. K2JLV is clear.